Welcome back. In this video, we will build the lower and upper arms for our lamp. I will open up step 2 and hide my data panel. You will see that this file looks identical to the file that we finished in the last video, including our user parameters and our group at the bottom of our timeline. The new steps will be exactly where we end the previous video. Feel free to go through the entire workshop using your file, but if you get lost or your file doesn't seem correct, go ahead and use one of the steps. So let's get started. I will go up into my browser, right-click, New Component, and I will rename this component Arm Assembly because I know that I'm going to have multiple components for multiple arms. Again, right-click, New Component, and I will name this Lower Arm, and we can start modeling. I will go to Create a New Sketch, and I will host it to this face on my vertical body. We can now begin to create our arm. So I will go 2-point rectangle and draw a rectangle like this. Go C on my keyboard for circle and draw a circle here. And I will go P on my keyboard for project geometry and select this circle to project it into my model. Now that all of my geometry is drawn or modeled, I can begin to constrain and dimension. So I will go first to Constraints, Horizontal, Vertical, get my 2 circles, and I will do this circle to the shift midpoint of this line. Now my geometry is symmetrical, and I can use an equal constraint to set my 2 circles equal to each other. Because this geometry is referenced from the body behind it, we know that that will update parametrically as we change our user parameters. Because this has an equal constraint, this circle will also update. I will now go D for dimension, and dimension first the distance from my circles. This will be 20, as it is a static dimension, and I want this dimension to match this bottom dimension. So instead of typing anything in my dialog box, I will click this dimension, and you will see that it calls that dimension's number. Now when I hit enter, a function appears, and it says function 20. That is with this dimension. So if I changed this to 25, this dimension would update to 25. I'll hit undo so that they both read 20. Now 2 more dimensions, D again for dimension. The height of our rectangle will be 285. And the top will be W for width. Our arm is now completely dimensioned and constrained and is showing all black. So I will hit Stop Sketch and return to my home view. I can now go Extrude to create my geometry, and I will click these 2 profiles and drag out my thickness T. We can now see that my lower arm has 1 sketch and 1 body. I will activate my arm assembly component and go create mirror. I want to create a mirror of this arm on the other side of my lamp base, so I will go mirror, change my pattern type to components, and select this lower arm component. My mirror plane will be the origin plane, and we can see that mirror occur. I'll hit OK. And now we have 2 bodies that are mirrored about the base. Let's finish up. I will go right-click, New Component, and I will name this Upper Arm. Let's host the sketch, and this time I will host it to the center plane. We could host it to the inside face here, but as an example, I want to host it here. I will draw my rectangle, hit P for project, grab my circle, and draw another circle here. Again, I'm not going to dimension it. I will go equal and place an equal constraint. Now let's go horizontal vertical and go from my circle to the shift midpoint and my circle to this circle. Again, let's go D for dimension. The dimension at the top will be 22.5 and the dimension here will be 45. The overall dimension for my rectangle will be 340 and the width will be T. This body is made in the opposite direction, so T will be our width and W will be our distance. I'll hit Stop Sketch. And we can extrude our sketch. I'll just select this and drag out. Notice that we are dragging in one direction. In the direction, I can change this to be symmetric. Now as I drag out, my geometry goes out an equal distance on both sides of my sketch. I will type W divided by 2 so that on one side of the sketch it goes half of the width, and when it is symmetrical, we'll reach a total width of W. I'll hit Enter and activate my main component. All of our arms are created, so I will go into my timeline and group these features. Right-click, Create Group. I'll collapse this and save the file. In the next video, we will build our lampshade arm. I will see you in the next video.